of when he's going to be back in charge. If you could perhaps answer that question for us.
That'd be a difficult question for me to answer. As you know, I've been here since Wednesday, and just like you, I heard on the news that it's back. So I'm back in Abuja by Sunday, and if you find me during the week, I'll be in a position to answer that question to you. Hopefully by then I would have been able to say it and tell you.
All right.
But I think the most important thing is to say it's a good development. I was opportune with the speaker to see him, and I came back and told Nigerians that he will be back, and that there was no cause for alarm. And I think his arrival has shown that. And I think, as Nigerians, he said, continue to pray and we'll take it step by step. It's a good development. So let us always focus on the positive side, and let's be less skeptical or pessimistic on some of these issues. And I think it's going back as a good development.
Okay, certainly, but I would like a little bit more clarity, and perhaps a question that you can answer is, now that he's back in the country, the acting vice president, who's been acting as president, can't really act because he's back in the country. So we're sort of in limbo, are we not? Because he does not necessarily have the powers that he had when the president was out of the country. But the president also said today that he should continue.
I don't think we're in limbo. I think it's very clear. And we've shown that the country are all guided by the Constitution, every one of us, and it's very, very clear what the Constitution has provided for us. So there's no limbo. The country has been working very well when he was away, so I think the country is going to work well now he's back. So I really don't see that as a big issue.
You bring in very good points. There have been a lot of good developments in the time that the president has been away. A lot of people praising the efforts by the acting president. It's also raised the question of, all of these developments at a time when the president, who perhaps should have presided over them, has been away. And I know that the line has been that President Buhari has essentially been guiding all the changes that have happened in the time that he's been away. But some of the things that have happened are things that we know that President Buhari is particularly opposed to. Currency devaluation, for example.
I think you're very wrong there. I think the central bank is independent. The monetary policies are that of central bank, they're not that of the executive arm of government. So, listen, my view is that I believe it's one government. I believe that it's a continuation of all efforts that have been in place. The monetary policies are that of central bank. The timing of it might be what makes people a bit speculative, but listen, there are bigger issues, my own concern, and the bigger issues are the direction and policy of government. What we're beginning to see is some of the action of government is beginning to materialize. People are beginning to see a lot of factors that are coming into it, and that is what is helping. And I think, as I said, those are monetary policies of government of central bank. They're not executive or legislative. We have a central bank that's seen as an independent. It's allowed to come up with some policies.
We've also been told by the Electoral Commission about the dates of the election. The president being out of the country for 7 weeks, 51 days, that is a very long time. It does raise the question, one, about his fitness to hold office, his health. Looking forward to that election in 2019, is the president going to be on the ticket for the APC?
I think, again, we're not being fair. I've always told reporters that ask me questions about 2019, I think it's irresponsible. And I'll tell you why. I believe that the focus should be on how do we make life better for Nigerians. And if our focus is already on 2019, it means that both we as governors, those you as who are reporting, we're not being fair. What I think our focus should be on now is, what is government doing to make Nigeria better? What is the National Assembly doing to make Nigeria better? There's a lot of time for politics. It will come. This question, you hold it, you can come back and ask me in 2018 and we discuss that. But I think our focus now should be policies and laws that will make Nigeria better.
Respectfully, sir, but I think that even your visit coincides with my point. You're talking to industry about seeking investment. One of the things investors want is certainty. People want to know, especially about political stability. It's frightening for any investor to know that the president has been out of the country for an extended period, very little detail. I'm sure you can understand, even if you look at how the stock market in Nigeria reacted today. A month high when the president came back to the country, as soon as he gave conflicting details about when he's back in charge, we saw some of those gains being reversed. So these are concerns that especially investors have.
Well, I have spent 2 days with investors, and that hasn't come up. What investors have been asking me about is security of their investment, security of the country, laws of ease of business. I have spent a lot of time with small and medium-sized companies, large companies, private sector participation, what laws are we going to do, the exchange rate. Everybody's asking me about 2019 election or who's going to win 2019. So I disagree with you. In fact, I think the focus, most of the investors we talked about, is the climate presently for them to invest. And for example, ease of doing business, visa on arrival, they've seen an improvement when it comes to Nigeria. They've seen a government that's fighting corruption, they've seen a government that is showing the rule of law, and those have been questions of us. So, I don't know where your investors are, but mine that I've seen are not asking me those questions.
I'm just citing the movements that we saw on the Nigerian Stock Exchange today. Just pivoting more to your visit today, there have also been conditions about what the investor community wants to see from your government. If you could talk to a little bit about the expectations from their part.
Well, I first of all, let me say that we've always enjoyed very cordial and good relation with Germany. As I emphasized during this visit, that we both have a key role to play. Germany, by their strong economy, their political leadership, they play a key role in the EU. It's clear that Germany wants to foster a better relationship with Africa, and there's no way you can foster a better relationship with Africa without having a good relationship with Nigeria. And I see sincerity and commitment in a partnership, economic cooperation partnership, prosperity on both sides. And so I see Germany really keen to do business in Nigeria. Now their concern, which is a concern they have from their likely investors, is security of the country. And they all agree that in 2 years' time, if you look at it today, particularly the issue of Boko Haram and the issue of terrorism in the Northeast, there's been great progress and achievement. We have recaptured a lot of places that we could not be. Life is resuming in most of the areas. Yes, we still have sporadic attacks here, but it will take time. But we're moving in the right direction. There's a good morale in the force and a lot of achievements there. That's one. Security of their investment. Well, in the National Assembly, as you know, since about 6 months after we resumed, we set up for the first time discussion with the private sector, looking at all the laws. Many of our laws are outdated. Many of our laws were done years ago and not down to modern economy. For example, registration of companies, secure transactions where for small medium-sized companies, movable assets are not a security in the banks. We're addressing investment security review. We're looking at laws on infrastructure. If for the first time, the Senate, we amended the Railway Act, which had been there for 50 years, which doesn't only encourages government participation, doesn't encourage private sector participation. We're looking at Ports Harbour to have laws that will encourage private sector. Presently, there's likely to be an investment, about 7 billion in a port, so that again, government doesn't need to build or invest in. So we are telling them these are the things we're doing on infrastructure. Yeah. We're also saying ease of doing business. We have a forum now between the executive arm of government, the legislative arm of government, meeting regularly to look at what do we need to do to make people feel it's easy to do business in Nigeria. So that message is going across. Access to finance also, we're putting that across. And the most important part is if you look at the Nigeria as a country, the demographics suppose a young population, and there's room for prosperity. So the basic fundamentals are strong. Yes, we're going through a recession now, but the question you ask yourself is, what does the long term looks like? We're seeing peace in Niger Delta. We're back up to probably 80% of our production. But luckily, we've got crude oil price up. Irrespective of that, we've been able to improve the joint venture cash cow funding. Before, we had problems with that. Now we have it self-funding where the oil companies are. So production was going to increase. We are putting a framework that in 2 years production should go to 2.5. So these things are beginning to happen. We have social intervention schemes that will provide for those who are unemployed. So the message out there, and then you have a strong government, both in the legislative arm and the executive arm, who are ensuring that we have transparency. So I think with those issues, the confidence or the message we're sending out to investors that look, this is an environment that you can be sure about your investment. What they're concerned about is, I bring my money in, am I sure I can get my money out? Am I sure that the rules and the laws that I see are going to be there the same way when it's time for me to act? And that's confidence where, because most of the news they hear is unfiltered. You know, most of the news on social media or some sensational news, and it doesn't sell the country. It gives the impression that there are problems and there's this, and hearing from us when we come here, it's a bit reassuring for them.
Just a follow-up.
The last question.
The follow-up to her question, the request for military hardware featured prominently during his visit. With your interactions with the German authorities, do you get a sense that they would yield to these requests, that they're taking it seriously?
Well, we would like them to take it seriously, because I think that we made a lot of achievement in the last 2 years in the fight against Boko Haram. And my concern is that most of the support, or most of where we're getting our hardware for, are from not our natural partners like Germany, France, the United States. And that as true partners, because when you talk about economic cooperation, you must have security. Most of the businessmen here we talk about ask us, how is the issue of Boko Haram? So the two go together. So our demand on them is that, look, let us see more action just like there are other countries where you're giving a lot of support in military hardware. If there are issues that you think we need to address, let us sit down on the table and address it. We've made a lot of advances now. I think it just requires just a little more push, and I think we'll be able to completely obliterate Boko Haram. The worst we want to do is make all these advances and they regroup, because now we're pretty much pinned them down to a certain part, and we should not lose the opportunity to finish off this fight, so that people can truly go back to the community and start living their lives again. Because of the fear they have, they're all in the city, and their fear is that when they go back, they might be attacked. So that is why we must finish this fight. That's the appeal we're making to.
He also expressed concern that so far they've only been able to benefit on the humanitarian side. Do you see this likely to increase?
I think so. I think so. I think so. What we're saying here is that country like in the crisis in Syria, we've seen Germany contribute close to 3.5 billion in the last 2 years. They have 3 to 5, maybe 3 to 5 million IDPs. We have 2.5 million IDPs, and we've only seen about less than $500 million. That we think more money should go into humanitarian crisis in that area, and I think that it's likely that we'll see some improvement in that. I think that message was well taken, and I think that will be achieved. Secondly, we also ask for more advocacy. A lot of those things they're doing, we need to know in Parliament, some of those, because so that we can have better oversight, and also to ensure more efficiency in the utilization of some of these efforts and so forth. It's okay. Finally.
One more question. The other day, you visited a village here in Germany, and you were impressed with how they do their energy. And your office released a statement on Facebook, and you talked about amending laws with regards to changes within the energy sector. A lot of comments, which I was reading through on your Facebook page, a lot of Nigerians saying, we've heard that from previous senators. They all come and say that we're going to be changing the laws, and we don't really see that. Can you please speak to that particular challenge from Nigerians?
Well, I think you can't take just that comment in isolation. The point we're making is we all accept that one of our major issues is the issue of power. And if you look over the last 2 months, National Assembly, on our own initiative, set up a dialogue where we invited all stakeholders, those in this distribution, transmission, generation, to a meeting held between us, National Assembly, that's the House of Rep, and the Senate, and we called them, and we called the ministers and said, listen, we see a collapse in the power sector. What needs to be done? And from that forum, we now realize that there are major issues. Mistakes were made in the privatization.
stakeholders that had no business in the power sector came into the power sector. A lot of them are owing banks money. People are generating, can't get gas. Those that generate power can't get paid. We have a crisis ahead of us. What do we need to do to get ourselves out of this? And now, in doing that, it's not just laws. There are many issues that we need to do. We have to take a haircut. Because why? A lot of this company that are owing money, what do? So, the distribution companies say they want to increase tariff. Say, hey, hold on a second. Are you sure you have the capital to make the investment on meters, etc.? Two, are you competent enough? Are you running it properly? Because there are cases of where distribution are collecting money, but they're increasing their so-called operating costs, and at the end of the new money is going back to pay for generation. So I agree with you. We've heard it before. Yes. All the problem about governance in Nigeria, we've all heard it before. Every single thing. When we come here too, we hear people say, we've heard this before. What makes it different that Nigeria is now ready for business? That is the challenge we have, being in this situation where over the years, we've lost a lot of good laws. Nigerians are tired of it. So the only thing I can say, let action do the talk. We are committed in making this country better, and you can't make this country better without addressing power. So some of those comments are not to appease Nigerians just to say for the sake of saying. We're already doing the work in ensuring that some of these things get done. And that is why we have another meeting where we have asked them to audit the distribution companies. We're looking at all MDAs that are owing government for electricity bills. We're going to put in the budget, let them get paid. We're going to look at the power generation and see how we can make gas more available instead of going for export, for domestic. There are a number of things that need to be done. It's not going to be easy. Let me make that very clear. It's not as easy as we think it is, because a lot of decisions that we take in the past were not the right decisions. But we don't have an alternative. We have to fix it. So to Nigerians, just to reassure you that it's work in progress, and we just have to do it. There's no alternative.
Thank you.